Good afternoon, welcome to VANIK-IAS. We will discuss current affair of 21st November. Okay. First we will discuss objective questions, then we will go to the main topics. Next is question is the Koroniva joint work on agriculture. KJWA, Koroniva Joint Work on Agriculture, is the only program to focus on agriculture and food security under UNFCCC. Is the only program to focus on agriculture and food security on UNFCCC. It covers 6 interconnected subjects, including soil, nutrient use, water, livestock techniques for evaluating adaptation and socio-economic food security implications of climate change throughout the agriculture sectors. It is Koroniva Joint Work on Agriculture (KJWA). It focuses on agriculture and food security under United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change. Here both the statements are correct. That is Koroniva Joint Work on Agriculture. It focuses on 6 interconnected subjects: soils, nutrient use, water, livestock techniques for evaluating adaptation, socio-economic food security implications. Next question is about consider the following statements with reference to National Education Society for tribal students. Why tribal students? Yes. National Education with reference to National Education Society for tribal students. Why they need special attention? We have, for example, Eklavya Residential School. It is a new model that is prioritizing the tribal education. Okay. So National Education Policy. This is a new educational policy that is based on the recommendation of K. Kasturirangan Committee. Kasturirangan Committee, and yes, so consider the following statement with respect to national agricultural policy. It is an autonomous organization established under Ministry of Tribal. Yes, Ministry of Tribal. That is, there is National Education Society for tribal students. Under Ministry of Tribal, it is established under Ministry of Tribal. Yes, this question is right. Next is, it allocates funds to Navodaya Vidyalaya for expenses of tribal students. See, Navodaya Vidyalaya is not only for tribal students. We have Eklavya model schools for tribal students, and Navodaya Vidyalaya this promotes especially economic weaker sections, and there is certain it is inclusive. That means there are tribals, there are other. So it considers backward class students, SC/ST students, tribal students, all are studying in the Navodaya Vidyalayas, right? So this statement will be obviously wrong. One only option will be right so far as National Education Policy for tribal students is concerned. Next. Which of the following students regarding Green Climate Fund (GCF), which was recently in news? Why it was green? Why Green Climate Fund was in news? Green Climate Fund was in news because at present there is COP27. It is going on at the Egypt, right? COP27, that is Conference of Parties in COP27 is conducted at the Egypt. COP27 to fight climate change, right? And it is so. The question is, which of the following statements with regarding Green Climate Fund is correct? First statement is, it is intended to assist the developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter the climate change. Yes, to counter climate change, Green Climate Fund is created, and the major purpose of Green Climate Fund is to assist the developing country. That means developed countries they will give the resources to developing countries to adaptation. Adaptation means making adjusting in the current environment. For example, there is climate, there is global warming and temperature is rising. If you are purchasing AC, then that is adaptation. You are existing in the same climate, but you are making environment conducive by utilization of science and technology, that is adaptation. Mitigation means you are addressing the initial cause, you are addressing the original cause of the climate change, that is mitigation. So to counter climate change in both adaptation and mitigation, GCF has been established. It is founded, GCF has been established, here first it is right. It is founded under the aegis of UNEP, OECS, and there is Asian Development Bank and World Bank. This statement is wrong. Asian development is not there, right? This all statement is wrong. So only one is the answer, right? And the objective of GCF is to raise $100 billion fund for the developing countries. This is called as common but differentiated responsibilities, right? What is this common but differentiated responsibility? Common but differentiated responsibility means developed countries they will pay more for the climate change, in developing countries as they have less, as they are not a region of climate change, they will pay the less, right? At the present crisis of the world is primarily because of the developed countries. It is not because of the developing countries. So obviously developed countries they have to pay more as compared to the developing countries, and developing countries also do not have any resources, right? And it is funded by United Nations and World Bank. World Bank is the act as the trustee of Green Climate Fund. Its headquarters is in Incheon, South Africa is the headquarter. South Africa is the headquarter, and they have promised it is there to collect $100 billion from the developed countries and the other parties, and to fund the developing countries to fight against climate change. Which is the reference with reference to Global Environmental Facility, GEF, Global Environment Facility. Global Environment Facility, GEF. Which of the following statements are correct? It serves as a financial mechanism for conventional on biodiversity. It serves as a mechanism for Convention on Biodiversity, Convention on Biological Diversity, and United Nations Framework for Convention of Climate Change, or it undertakes scientific research and environmental issues. No, it is not scientific issues. Global Environment Facility, it is a funding mechanism, right? It is an agency under OECD. No, this is wrong. This is also wrong. It is not an agency under OECD. Right, so only A answer is the right. It is a financial mechanism for conventional on biodiversity, CBD, Convention on Biodiversity, and United Nations Framework on Climate Change. So A only option is the right answer. This is Global Environmental Facility, Convention on Biological Diversity. It is a financial mechanism. Then Hwasong 17 is an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. Hwasong 17. ICBM. Upon seeing the news, which are the following country? Which are the following country? What do you mean by ballistic missile? Ballistic missile is that missile which has the path of ballistic path, right? Ballistic path like means this, like this, ballistic path. And ballistic path, it is not guided. First thing, this is called as ballistic path, and it is not guided means it is not controlled during its motion, or during its launch, or during its path. It is not guided, not controlled, right? Okay. Next is ballistic missile. Another thing, ballistic missile, it is short range. Ballistic missile are long range, but their accuracy is less as compared to the cruise missile. Another thing is intercontinental means it's a very long range, and this Hwasong 17, it is North Korea's new monster. It is called North Korea monster missile. Hwasong 17. Hwasong 17. It is North Korea. B is the answer. It is a monster missile. Hwasong 17. North Korea's monster missile. Consider the following statements. Malaria elimination is defined as the interruption of local transmission of a specified malaria parasite species in a definite geographical area as a result of deliberate activities. Okay. Countries that have achieved at least 3 consecutive years of zero indigenous cases of malaria are eligible to apply WHO certification for malaria elimination. Yes, this is right. And in 2021, India has been certified by the WHO Director General as malaria free after Sri Lanka. No, India is not malaria free. There is huge presence of malaria in India, right? And to achieve that, there should be 3 consecutive years of zero indigenous cases of malaria. It has malaria elevation is defined as the interruption of local transmission of a specified malaria parasite species that is defined that in a defined geographical area. Okay, so D is the answer. Consider the following statement. Drug resistance is the reduction of effectiveness of medicine. When an organism is resistant to more than one drug, it is said to be multi-drug resistance. Yes, both the statements are correct with respect to drug resistance, and that is called as antimicrobial resistance as well, AMR. Multi-drug resistance means when you are resistant to various types of medicines. It is that is called as multi-drug resistant. What is the reason of multi-drug resistance? The reason of multi-drug resistance is, for example, improper use of antibiotics, and taking on self-medication, right? Improper uses of doses, and these are the reasons of antimicrobial resistance or drug resistance. Consider the following statements about peninsulas recently seen in the news and select the correct statement. Iberian Peninsula is surrounded by Bay of Biscay, Mediterranean Sea and Arctic Ocean. Iberian Peninsula, it is surrounded by Bay of Biscay, Mediterranean Sea and Arctic Ocean. Then Balkan Peninsula is surrounded by Black Sea, Aegean Sea and Adriatic Sea. Okay, Balkan Peninsula is, yes, this is right. And Caucasus lies in the north of Georgia. Azerbaijan separates Asia from US. Yes. Second statement is also right. Caucasus lies in the north of Georgia, Azerbaijan, and it separates Asia from Europe. Iberian Peninsula is surrounded by Bay of Biscay, Mediterranean Sea. Iberian Peninsula is surrounded by Bay of Biscay, Mediterranean Sea. And Arctic Ocean. This is wrong. 2 and 3 options will be right. Next question. Which of the following are possible consequences of azure high? Possible consequence of azure high, which was recently seen in the news due to its expansion because of climate change. Right? Climate change. Yes, because of climate change, there is decrease in the winter precipitation in the Iberian Peninsula. Yes, this is right. Grape production will decrease. As precipitation decrease, as grape production decrease, drying measure of Western European rivers. All the statements are right. That may be because of azure high. Consequences of azure high. So these are the results of climate change in the Iberian Peninsula. It is in news. Okay. Next we will discuss previous facts. WHO launches new strategy to tackle anti-malarial drug resistance in Africa. Anti-malarial drug resistance, yes, drug resistance is a big problem in present society. It is one of the top 10 global health crises in the world, and around 7 lakh people are dying every year because of drug resistance. Okay, the WHO find out that in 85% cases in Africa, where it has earlier it was given the medicines like chloroquine, there is drug resistance has developed. The World Health Organization has issued new strategies to conduct antimicrobial drug resistance in Africa in November 2022. Released the strategy during World Microbial Awareness Week. World Microbial Awareness Week, an annual global campaign to raise awareness about growing threat of antibiotic resistance. Right. So it's a World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. It will be released. It will be released to the atmosphere. Yes, this will be observed for awareness weekly because antimicrobial resistance is the new global threat. Right. Some recent reports of Africa indicate the growing parasite resistance to artemisinin, the major component of malaria drug. Right? There is huge resistance to artemisinin, major component of malaria drug. There is alarming indication that some of the parasites are resistant to drugs and are combined with the artemisinin, the WHO said in a press release. Some 96% of malaria infections and fatalities worldwide in 2020 were from sub-Saharan Africa. Right? Nearly 4 to 5 cases of these deaths were among the children under 5. 90 malaria infection and fatalities in 2022 are from sub-Saharan Africa. Nearly 4 in the 5 of these deaths were among children under 5. So it's a very serious issue in the sub-Saharan Africa and African region. And by using this malaria drug, now they are suffering from antimicrobial resistance. Artemisinin resistance has been identified. Artemisinin, remember this word, artemisinin resistance has been identified in several countries of Africa, notably Uganda, Rwanda, Eritrea. Cases are rising in many countries, and progress made towards fighting malaria has stalled in recent years. New dangers such as anti-malarial drug resistance could erode the new drug such as antimicrobial drug resistance could erode the progress made over the last 2 decades. Full-blown treatment failure could result into very dangerous outcome. Right? If you are not making the treatment, then there will be very dangerous outcome. That means so many people will die. And if you are making the treatment, then there is chances of antimicrobial resistance. So these are the two problems that they may suffer, right? Okay. New dangers such as antimicrobial drug resistance could erode the next. Resistance to artemisinin alone seldom results in the treatment failure. This may result it only yes, it seldom results in treatment failure, but there are very rare chances that there is treatment failure. However, resistance to artemisinin and the partner drug in ACT therapy can significantly increase treatment failure rates. So it will significantly increase the treatment failure rates. The new strategy builds on the knowledge from earlier and current global programs. It aims to reduce the threat and effect of antimicrobial drug resistance in Africa through 4 pillars. So what are those 4 pillars? That is especially used to reduce the drug resistance issues. First is strengthening surveillance of anti-malarial drug efficacy and resistance. First thing that those medicines which are relieved that their efficacy, drug efficacy and resistance will be evaluated. Next is optimizing the regulating diagnosis and therapeutics to limit drug pressure through the preemptive measures. Reacting to resistance by limiting the spread of anti-malarial drug resistance parasites. Stimulating research and innovation to leverage existing tools and develop new tools against antimicrobial drug resistance. Through antimalarial drug resistance is a serious cause for concerns. Artemisinin-based combination therapies remain the best available treatment for uncomplicated pre-falciparum malaria and can continue to prescribe and antiviscin-based combination therapies to treat confirmed malaria. So, yes. So these are the therapy. First thing is that to surveillance will be increased, then optimizing and regulating diagnosis. Regulating the diagnosis and therapeutics to limit the drug pressure through the preemptive measures. So drug pressure will be reduced. There is a amount of drug need to be used. Reacting to resistance by limiting the spread of anti-malarial drug resistance parasites. Reacting it to resistance by limiting the spread of, because this spread, we have to reduce the spread of anti-malarial drug resistance. Then stimulating research and innovation to leverage the existing tools to develop new tools against antimicrobial drug resistance. So these are the, and another thing is that although antimalarial drug resistance is a serious cause for concern, based on combination of therapies. So combination of therapies remain best available treatment on complicated P. falciparum malaria and can continue to prescribe. So P. falciparum malaria that can be continued to prescribe and the problem will not occur. Six different ACT are currently advised by WHO as the first and second line of treatments for uncomplicated P. falciparum malaria. These are currently advised by WHO. Artemisinin and its derivatives associated from the plant Artemisia annua are potent medications renowned for the quick reduction of the Plasmodium parasites counts in the blood and malaria. It works very good, but the problem is that develops antimicrobial resistance. ACT combined with partner drugs, that is artesunate, methyl or dihydro, artemisinin compounds lessen the number of parasites during the first 3 days of the treatment. The partner drug role is eliminated by the remaining parasites to treat the infections. Then Hwasong 17. What is this Hwasong 17? North Korea said that it had tested its massive Hwasong 17 intercontinental ballistic missile. Yes, North Korea has tested intercontinental ballistic missile. In what analysis maybe it is the first successful launch of the system after doubts were raised by the earlier claims. How big is North Korea's Hwasong monster missile? Hwasong 17 is a nuclear armed North Korea's biggest missile yet, and it is the biggest missile, right? It is the biggest missile. It is the largest road missile, liquid fueled ICBM in the world. Largest road missile, Road mobile liquid fuel ICBM. Road mobile means it can be launched from any part. It can be launched from any part of the road. It can be launched, right? 80,000 to 1,10,000 kg around 38 North US based program that monitors the North Korea. Unlike North Korea's earlier ICBM, Hwasong 17 is launched directly from the transporter erector launcher vehicle with 11 axles. So it can be, so this Hwasong 17, why it is high? It is highly efficient. It is highly efficient because it can be launched from any part of the continent, right? It from different launchers, and that can cause mass devastation in different areas because ballistic missiles have high power nuclear. They can. The characteristic of ballistic missile is that they can have huge payload in their head, right? Then how far it can fly? The missile has recently nearly 1,000 kilometers and for about 69 minutes and reached maximum altitude of 6,000 kilometers. So altitude is 6,000 kilometers and the length is around 1,000 kilometers. According to Japan nuclear, the weapon could travel as far as 15,000 kilometers, enough to reach the continental United States, right? So it has the potential to reach the 15,000 kilometers. Like we have ICBM from the Russia, that is Sarmat 28. Sarmat 28 has a maximum limit of around 18,000 kilometers. So these are weapons of mass destruction, and this 15,000 kilometers, it is a range of Hwasong 17. Previous launches, North Korea previously came back and successfully launched Hwasong 17 for the first time on March 24, 2022, when states media said that it flew 67.5 minutes to a range of 1,000 kilometers. So this is Hwasong 17. Okay. After the launch, however, analysts and intelligence officials South Korean and United States has concluded that North Korea actually launched Hwasong 15, which was fire tested in 2017. So don't know whether it is right or wrong, but that's the information. At previous sighting, North Korea has unveiled the previous on-scene ICBM at an unprecedented pre-dawn military parade in October 2020, with analysts noting that it is appeared considerably larger than the Hwasong 17, right? Hwasong 15. It is considerably larger, very big as compared to the Hwasong 15. It was displayed a second time as a defense exhibition at Pyongyang, right? At Pyongyang, that is the capital of North Korea. After examining photos of the exhibit, analysts concluded that official designation of the large ICBM is most likely Hwasong 17, not Hwasong 16. It is most likely Hwasong 17. That is what it is predicted by the official. Officials in Seoul, South Korea, and Washington said launches on February 17 and March 5 involved Hwasong 17 ICBM system. Though it is not didn't test its fully capacity or range, someone has said that those tests may have involved any one stage. So it's basically, although it is not confirmed, it is guessed by the analysts that it is Hwasong 17, which is very powerful as compared to and very big in size as compared to Hwasong 15. So this is Hwasong 17, right? Next, Coronivia joint work on agriculture. What is this Coronivia joint? Coronivia joint work on agriculture. India expressed concerns over the draft decision text on the Coronivia joint work on agriculture that claimed that the insisting on extending the scope for mitigation up to agriculture. Extending the scope for mitigation to agriculture, developed nations are preventing a pro-poor and pro-farmer decision, endangering the very foundation of global food security. Pro-poor, the developed countries are preventing a pro-poor. pro-farmer decision, right? Coronavia Joint Work on Agriculture is a landmark decision under the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change that recognizes unique potential of agriculture in tackling the climate change. Coronavia Joint Work on Agriculture, right? Climate change. The Coronavia decision covers 6 interconnected subjects, including soils, nutrients, use water, livestock techniques for evaluating adaptation and socio-economic and food security implications of climate change throughout the agriculture sectors. So this are very 6 interconnected subjects, that is soils and nutrient uses, water, livestock techniques for evaluating adaptation and socio-economic and food security implications. So this, especially to counter climate change, this Coronavia Joint Work on Agriculture, that is KJOWA, is a landmark decision by the under United Nations Framework, that is UNFCCC. The choice on the line of FAO's main mission to end hunger, food insecurity, malnutrition, lessen rural poverty, increase the productivity and sustainability of agriculture, forestry and fisheries. Right. FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, it is where headquarters is the Rome, Italy. Right. It has a main mission to end the hunger. End hunger, zero poverty, these are the food security, and this malnutrition, lessen rural poverty, these are all the objectives in the line of FAO. Then that this KJWO, right? This KJWA that will also work in the line of the FAO's objective. India's argument. India has argued that rich countries aim to use world's agriculture, lands and seascapes as a site of mitigation of the wasteful excessive emissions. Right, rich country, they aim towards agriculture. What happens especially? Why they are developing such type of? Why they are adopting for such type of agriculture? Because they have already created the problem. Now they want that the whole world will solve the problem. Which is why they are attempting to expand the scope of mitigation to include the agriculture. India claimed that there are survival emissions from the poor, not luxury emissions. Right? There are two difference. Right? Developing countries, they have survival emissions. Survival emissions means whatever that is essential for the survive. Even today, the emissions per capita emissions of India is much lower than the global average. So in that context, we cannot say that India is will be same responsible as United States. Next is agriculture is practiced by small and marginal farmers in most developing countries around the world who toil hard and brave the vagaries of harsh weather and climate variability as well as the additional stress of climate change. So small and marginal farmers in most developing countries around the world, and they work very in the harsh weather and climate variability. Because of climate change, now the rainfall pattern has changed, now there is drought, now there is flood. So farmer community, they are suffering a lot because of the climate change. The developed countries, a high historical cumulative emissions are blamed for the climate disaster in the world. It is a developed country who has enjoyed a luxurious life. Even today, the per capita emission is much higher as compared to the per capita emission of developing countries like India. And obviously they are the responsible for the climate change, as they have global emission is much higher than the global average since the industrial level development of the industries. By making any significant changes to their way of life, these countries should unable to cut their internal emissions. They are unable to cut their internal emissions. Instead, they are looking for the expensive options abroad. According to those familiar with the negotiations who asked to remain anonymous, the developed nations have not put any new financial offers on the table. uh, and the GEF, GCF, who are currently functioning under interim operation institutions, pursued to tackle the developed nations' excessive emissions by making agriculture a site of mitigation. Right now, the developed countries, they have GEF and GCF. Right, Global Environment Facility and Global Climate Fund. These they are the objective is to fund $100 billion to the developing nations to counter the climate change. And now they are targeting the agriculture sector especially to reduce the emissions. Right. The problem is that even if that is whatever the new type of agriculture they want to develop in the whole world, the problem is that we have lack of resources. First thing that we have the priority of the developing countries should be to fund the minimum requirements they need. Okay. Rather than about thinking about the climate change, because they have created the problem and they have created a problem, and even today they are also creating the problem. They are failed to reduce their emissions, they are failed to reduce their lifestyles in the developed countries. Now they are asking the developing countries to sacrifice money and resources for the problem that is done by especially developed countries. Right? What is this? Yes, by pushing the broadened scope of agricultural mitigation, the rich nations are impeding poor farmer decision, jeopardizing the basic needs of global food security. So, if they are attacking the agricultural methods or they want to change the agricultural method of the developing countries, they are attacking the food security and also jeopardizing the basic needs of the farmers, because the farmer in these developing countries like India are unable to fulfill their basic needs like a house or for basic education or basic health. India depends heavily on agriculture. Almost half of Indians rely on agriculture derived income. Right? So we cannot increase the cost of agriculture produce. The most important thing is that. Next, global environment facilities. Next is yes. What is the GCF and GEF? We'll see. They are funding mechanisms. The Global Environment Facility is the world's largest funder of nature restoration, biodiversity protection, pollution reduction, and climate change response in developing countries. Yes. World's funder for nature. Global Environment Facility, it is especially funding the develop. It will especially fund to developing countries regarding the climate change. It finances international environmental conventions and content-driven initiatives that generate global benefits, right? Because global that generates yes. As climate change is not a problem of a particular region, it is a problem of whole world. So, if climate is addressing the climate change issues in any country will benefit the whole world. So that will generate global benefits. The GEF partnership connects 180 member governments with civil society, private sector, indigenous people, works closely with the other environment financiers for efficiency impact. The five focal areas of the GEF is biodiversity loss, chemical and waste, climate change, international waters, and land degradation. These are the five focal targets of the global environment facilities. Okay. Then what is GCF? GCF is a unique global platform that invests in low emission climate resilient development in a way to combat climate change. GCF was created by 194 governments to restrict or lower greenhouse gas emissions in developing nations. Created by 194 governments. GCF was created by 194 governments to restrict or lower greenhouse gas emissions in developing nations and to support disadvantaged societies in their adaptation to climate change inevitable effects. It is a critical element of the historic Paris Agreement, right? Historic Paris Agreement that occurred in 2015, and this GCF was created. Why? To fund around $100 million for climate change to developing countries. It is a critical element of historical Paris Agreement, world's largest climate fund, to support developing countries raise and realize their national determined ambitions in low emissions climate resilient pathways. Right? What is this NDC? National Determined Commitment Contribution. What is this NDC? NDC is the individual commitment of different countries that they pledge to against climate change. Right? So it is an individual promise. Suppose India will promise there that I will reduce the global emissions by this much. I will create, for example, India will promise that I will create this much of renewable energy sources in next 10 years. Similarly, like India has promised that we will achieve net carbon neutrality by 2070, and also at least will generate 450 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. In Paris Climate Deal, India has promised, initially it was promised that to generate 178 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022, and we have achieved it, right? And it is the only country who have achieved the target. So similarly, we have made another ambitious target, especially to renewable to counter the global climate change. Next, National Education Society for Tribal Students. A memorandum of understanding has been signed between National Education Society for Tribal Students and 1M1B Foundation, NEST headquarters, New Delhi. Next, in partnership with the implementing agency, 1M1B aims to engage the students of EMRS in national building by enabling teachers and students understand the world of possibilities offered by emerging technologies and become creators using augmented reality and virtual reality to build India's metaverse. Yes, creators using augmented reality and virtual reality to use India's metaverse. The program will capacitate the teachers and students with augmented reality and virtual reality skills using AR/VR skills curriculum launched by CBSE. So this will So now this AV and AR/VR, this augmented reality and virtual reality skills, that will be in the curriculum launched by CBSE. Okay. Because India is going to develop in IT sector, and this augmented reality, artificial intelligence, virtuality, these are going to dominate in every sector in next 30 years. The program objectives include conduct of training and capacity building program teachers students of Eklavya model residential schools, especially where the tribal students. These are especially built in the tribal areas, Eklavya model residential schools. In a pilot phase, it is being implemented in 2 states, that is Rajasthan and Uttarakhand. Right, these two, that is this program that to teach augmented reality and virtual reality. Initially, it is implemented in 2 states, that is in Rajasthan and Uttarakhand. 1M1B, 1 million for 1 billion, is a USA-based non-profit organization. 1 million for 1 billion. Profit accredited to United Nations organization on a special consultative status to the United Nations Security Council, USCO SOC. It is associated with the United Nations Department of Global Communications, also registered credible organization with NGO Darpan portal of Niti Aayog. NGO Darpan portal of Niti Aayog. It is a credible organization in the NGO Darpan. Okay. It is social innovation and future skill initiative aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDG). The next, National Education Society for Tribal Students is an autonomous organization established under Ministry of Tribal. Next, aim to provide high quality education to tribal students in their own environment, that is called as NEST, National Education Society for Tribal Students. Next question is regarding the inclusive growth. Okay. Inclusive growth. What is this inclusive growth? Inclusive growth means assimilating the lowest section of the societies in the growth process. Right? We would financial inclusion, social inclusion, these all are the part of inclusive growth. Financial inclusion means, for example, by Jan Dhan Yojana, now the lowest section of the society, even the poorest of the poor, are having a bank account. And even if there is a 50 rupees or 500 rupees in their bank account, that also contributes significantly to the nation's economy. Even if suppose there are around 20 crore accounts, 18 crore accounts are opened, even if in 10 crore accounts, suppose there are 500, then that also constitute 5,000 crores, and that is a big amount for the whole economy, right? So that is called as financial inclusion. What do you mean by social inclusion? Social inclusion means, for example, now there are various. We do not have a egalitarian society. We have now we have gender gap index around 135 gender gap index, and there are disabled or specially able people in our country. There are transgenders which are not which are the lowest, which lack social inclusion, right? Transgenders are not included in our social process, right? The participation of transgenders has been declared is very minimal in the social and political life, right? Now they need to be encouraged to participate in every job sector, in every education. In a market economy, the production of goods and services are directed by the law of supply and demand and by profit with no government intention, right? State the significance of financial inclusion in achieving economic growth in India. So what is market economy? Market economy means where government interference is very minimum, right? And market economy is highly essential for economic growth. If you want economic growth, then we have to come out from the socialistic model of economy and we have to go for capitalist model of economy. As we have seen in case of USA and in case of China, we have to come out from the socialistic model to the capitalistic model. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) defined inclusive growth as economic growth that is distributed fairly across the society and creates opportunities for all. OECD defines inclusive growth is economic growth that distributed fairly across the society and that creates opportunity for the all sections of the society. That is what the OECD definition. Achieving inclusive growth in a market economy is a difficult prospect. The absence of government intervention does not leave any substantial scope for social welfare schemes. Absence of government intervention, right, does not leave any substantial scope for social welfare schemes, right? Absence of government intervention, yes. But in a market economy, yes. If you want economic development, then you have to go for market economy. But that means there will be minimum intervention of government. If there will be minimum intervention of government, that means there will not be social welfare schemes, or there will be very few social welfare schemes, and that will create the problem of inequality. Right? Inequality is the negative product of market economy. The profit-driven efficient utilization does not take into consideration deprivations faced by the marginalized section of society. Profit-driven efficient utilization, efficient utilization. If you want everything to be made efficient, then you will order for private sector, and that will create the problem for the deprivations for the marginalized sections of the populations, because they cannot afford the private sector, even they cannot afford the quality. For example, based on market economy, suppose there will not be development in the government medicals, then obviously people will be dependent on the private medicals, right? And that will hamper the interest of the marginalized sections of the society. This offers results into further socio-economic weakening of the sections such as job loss. Job loss occurs, right? When privatization occurs, job loss occurs because that will focus on efficiency, right? Efficiency means if there is any disguised employment means if there is more persons are worked in a company than it is needed, then there will be the private sector for efficiency to rationalize the employment things, and there will be unemployment of chances of unemployment. Market economy encourages privatization, which in an unregulated manner can prove detrimental to large sections of the social population. Because we have seen the private sector in the laissez-faire economy, in the industry, when the industrial revolution started. High exploitation of the labor was at that time. There is no labor rights. So there is no regulation with respect to the private sectors. It was highly dominant. Private sector was highly dominant. Gradually, by development of the trade union movement and social sector, social and the society, civil society, now the rights are given to the rights especially given to the people, to the workers, right? So the government has initiated several schemes such as PM Jan Dhan Yojana, PM Mudra Yojana, effective financial inclusion in the country. Effective financial inclusion, Pradhan Mantri, Jan Dhan Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. These schemes are primarily to increase the coverage of the formal financial services, the country, and enable larger number of people to join the economic mainstream. Enable a larger number of people to join the economic mainstream, right? These are the schemes. So most of the people have now, most of the Indians have a bank account. Okay. The integration of a greater number of people into the formal economic system of the country and the development of the habit of saving and further contributes to economic growth. That's why you have a bank account. If there will be a bank account, then there will be a habit of saving. Extension of loan, PM Mudra Yojana, is also a key part of financial inclusion. With the ability of capital, more MSME startups can be abolished if they can play a crucial role in economic growth. Pension related schemes, Atal Pension Yojana, also constitute a key part of financial inclusion. This allows elderly population of the country to remain economically productive and allow them a dignified life. Technology driven financial inclusion, UPI, can also lead to economic growth since it helps logging leakages and enable larger people to integrate themselves with the financial services in the country. The market economy, despite being economically efficient, is not ideal system for the implementation of inclusive growth. Despite being economic efficient is not the ideal system for economic inclusive growth, which based on equity and socio-economic welfare. So it cannot focus only on efficiency, it cannot focus only on market-based economic efficient. We have to also think about the employment, we have to also think about the social sector schemes, we have to also think about the labor rights. That is what at the end we have to focus on how to reduce the inequality and help the deprived section of the society. So the lectures end today, and like this video and share and subscribe to VANIK. Thank you.